Hey, what's up? It's Movado 242. It's November the 7th, 2018. Story coming out of Natural News. America's public education collapsing as 2018 student test scores the worst in history. Don't find that too surprising, but let's see what they got to say. 8 years after adopting Bill Gates' Common Core indoctrination standards, the public education system is reporting the lowest test scores for college readiness. According to the ACT's annual report, average test scores for mathematics plummeted to their lowest level in 2 decades. The report, Condition of College and Career Readiness 2018, warned that readiness in English is at its lowest since the ACT standards were introduced in 2015. Readiness for English was 46%. Just 3 years later, readiness had fallen to just 40%. Readiness in reading fell to 46%, and science readiness remained the most problematic for graduates, dropping to 36%. Most shocking, U.S. high school graduates in all 50 states and the District of Columbia recorded their lowest math scores in 20 years. According to the ACT College Readiness Benchmark in Mathematics, only 40% of 2018 graduates are ready for a college-level algebra class. Math scores have been plummeting in recent years. In 2012, American students scored 21.1. Last year, the average score was 20.7. This year, students scored a meager 20.5. ACT CEO Martin Rutter is deeply concerned about this negative trend in mathematics. She calls the drop-off in test scores a red flag for our country, especially in a tech-driven global market where math and science are vitally important to success. I remember when I first got involved in the tech industry, outsourcing was the big thing. Everybody was sending their jobs over to Manila, over to India. And as a consequence, those countries, especially India, they were subsidizing a lot of the education. The Microsoft certified engineer certification used to be big back then. And they were sending their people to those trainings to get the jobs. So that's paid off for them in the long run. So the United States is finding itself behind the curve. And I'm not sure if that's totally by accident. You know, if you know anything about Bill Gates and, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I'll let you do your own research on that. But Common Core I was against Common Core from the beginning when I really found out what it was about. And I looked at some of my grandson's homework assignments that were in Common Core. I was like, this makes no freaking sense. You know, they aren't teaching kids to think these days. They're like I said before, they're teaching them to memorize facts. And, you know, given the climate of today, we need to question the legitimacy of those facts. They're not being taught logic and reasoning. The capacity to think, the ability to analyze ideas. It's gone. You know, the kids they're not being taught the proper tools that's going to help them become productive citizens in this society. You know, was it Rockefeller? One of those guys said a long time ago, they wanted the people just smart enough to run the machines. And that is borne out in the education system. So if you've got kids in school or grandkids, you need to take a concerned look at their learning, or at their, what they're doing every day. I ask my grandson, what'd you do in school today? What'd you talk about? What was the topic of conversation? And just to find out, just to kind of get a grasp on what's going on. And, sometimes it's okay, but sometimes it's like, what are they talking about that for? I'll leave you with this from an article from John Rappaport, who's an excellent writer. He said, "We who still know the power of the mind and who understand how that power can be harnessed to shape independence and liberty can bring out of the dust of recent history and education that truly trains the intellect. Logic is the foundation of such an education. If schools which have become madhouses and factories and toxic medical dispensaries will not teach it, we can teach it. And that's right. We have to take an active role in our kids' education. You cannot depend on this system to educate them and teach them the things that they need to know. So with that being said, let's pay attention, folks. We cannot let our young people down. We've got to take an active role in their learning and how they see the world. Because if we don't, the world they see when they grow up is going to be a whole lot different than it is now. All right, peace.